For generations, Canada and the United States shared more than a border. They shared trust, prosperity, and a sense of family. The world's longest undefended border was a symbol of peace and cooperation, a testament to how two nations could thrive together. Our economies were tightly woven, our soldiers fought side by side, and our friendship was a given. From bustling factories to joint military exercises, the partnership was visible in every aspect of daily life. But change arrived, slowly, then suddenly. What once seemed unbreakable began to show cracks as new pressures emerged. The US imposed steep steel and aluminum tariffs, citing national security, a move that felt like betrayal to many Canadians. Decades of cooperation were called into question with a single policy shift. The shock rippled through boardrooms and factory floors, signaling that the old rules no longer applied. Uncertainty replaced the confidence that once defined cross-border business. The tariffs forced Canadians to confront a new reality. America was now willing to put its own interests first, even at the expense of its closest ally. The sense of partnership was replaced by a feeling of vulnerability. This wasn't just about economics, it was personal, chipping away at decades of trust. Families and communities felt the impact, and the emotional toll was real. The sense of shared purpose faded, replaced by uncertainty. The future, once predictable, now seemed clouded and unfamiliar. In the summer of 2025, Canada stands at a crossroads. The nation faces difficult choices about its identity and its place in the world. The easy assumptions of the past are gone. What was once taken for granted must now be reconsidered and redefined. Canadians everywhere are asking, can the old relationship be repaired, or is it time to forge a more independent path? The debate is lively, and opinions are divided. The answers will shape the nation's future. How Canada responds will determine its destiny for years to come. The foundation of trust has been shaken, and the questions now are fundamental. What does it mean to be a true ally, and how should Canada protect its own interests? Is this the beginning of a new era for Canada? The nation stands ready to write the next chapter of its story. The choices made now will define generations to come. The path forward is uncertain, but Canadians are determined to face it together, with resilience and hope. The impact of tariffs was felt most deeply not in corporate boardrooms or government offices, but in the everyday lives of ordinary people and families across the country. In steel towns like Hamilton, workers faced the harsh reality of layoffs, reduced hours, and constant anxiety about their families' futures and livelihoods. The pain didn't stop at the border. American factories that depended on Canadian steel saw their costs rise, jobs put at risk, and entire communities left uncertain about what tomorrow would bring. Tariffs acted as a blunt instrument, causing widespread collateral damage that reached far beyond their intended targets, leaving scars on towns and families alike. Trade tensions soon spilled into other sectors. Old disputes over softwood lumber reignited, threatening even more jobs and industries. Auto manufacturers, too, braced for further instability, worried that the next round of tariffs could hit their supply chains and workers. Every new threat or announcement from Washington sent fresh ripples of uncertainty through businesses and households, making it harder for people to plan for the future. The trust that once allowed handshake deals and cross-border partnerships to flourish was slowly eroding. Now, business owners on both sides of the border act with caution, wary of sudden policy shifts and the unpredictable nature of international trade. The tariffs didn't just raise prices, they put a price on friendship and on the trust that had been built over generations. Relationships and partnerships that had grown over decades were suddenly strained, sometimes to the breaking point. The emotional cost was real, as communities questioned whether the political posturing and economic brinkmanship were truly worth the sacrifice. The human toll of this trade war is a stark reminder. Economic policy is never just about numbers. It's about people, families, and the fabric of entire communities. Amid the turmoil, Canada turned to a new leader, Prime Minister Mark Carney. With global experience, Carney knew escalation was a losing game. His strategy diversify Canada's economy and reduce dependence on the US. The government accelerated trade with Europe and Asia, sending a clear message: Canada is open for business and a champion of fair trade. Carney framed the crisis as an opportunity to redefine Canada's place in the world. Missions targeted fast-growing markets, seeking new partners and investments. The approach was twofold: defend Canadian interests against unfair tariffs, and proactively build new bridges. Carney challenged businesses to look east and west, not just south. Programs helped companies navigate new markets, from Quebec lumber in Germany to tech startups in Singapore. The task was monumental: But the alternative, continued dependence on an unpredictable partner, was no longer an option. Canada's future would be built on resilience and global engagement. Trade wasn't the only source of tension. A U.S. proposal for a continental missile defense system, the Golden Dome, sparked fierce debate in Canada. Washington called it essential for North American security, but many Canadians saw it as a threat to sovereignty. Supporters argued it was practical. Critics feared ceding control to the Pentagon and being drawn into unwanted conflicts. The public was deeply divided, wary of foreign military hardware on Canadian soil. After months of debate, Prime Minister Carney's government declined the offer. Instead, Canada invested in its own northern defense systems, contributing to continental security on its own terms. The decision was a powerful statement. Canada would remain a committed ally, but not at the cost of its independence. The message was clear: Canada would choose its own path. Sovereignty and self-determination would guide the nation's defense. With the U.S. relationship in question, Canada's global pivot accelerated, forcing leaders to rethink the nation's place in the world and seek new partners beyond its traditional ally. The CPTPP opened new markets in the Asia-Pacific, giving Canadian farmers, tech firms, and manufacturers fresh opportunities to expand and innovate, while reducing reliance on a single trading partner. The trade deal with the EU brought Canadian seafood to Paris and beef to Berlin, deepening ties with democratic allies and allowing Canadian products to reach millions of new consumers across Europe. These agreements were about more than trade. They built political and economic alliances beyond North America, strengthening Canada's voice on the global stage and fostering mutual trust. The Carney government also looked to Africa, targeting sectors like clean tech and agriculture in emerging markets, aiming to share Canadian expertise and build sustainable partnerships. While challenging, these relationships were long-term investments in Canada's future security, opening doors for collaboration and innovation that would benefit generations to come. This global outreach fostered new confidence among Canadian businesses, inspiring entrepreneurs to think bigger and reach further than ever before. Canadians saw that prosperity didn't have to hinge on a single partner. Instead, opportunity could be found in every corner of the globe. Diversification made the economy more resilient, able to weather shocks from any region and adapt quickly to changing global dynamics. The shift was profound, a move from branch plant mentality to global trading nation. With Canadian innovation and quality recognized worldwide, Canada was no longer just looking south but everywhere opportunity called, embracing a truly international identity. The world was open, and Canada was ready to seize its place as a leader in global commerce and cooperation. A new era of global engagement had begun, marking a bold chapter in Canada's story. Looking outward, Carney's government also turned inward to tackle Canada's own trade barriers, which had long been overlooked. For years, it was easier to sell from Ontario to Texas than to Quebec, highlighting the depth of internal barriers. Fragmented provincial regulations stifled growth and competitiveness for Canadian businesses. The federal government launched a push for a seamless Canadian single market, harmonizing rules, recognizing credentials, and streamlining procurement processes. It was a nation-building project, making it easier for businesses to succeed from coast to coast. A unified market would boost productivity and innovation, helping Canada compete more effectively on the global stage. Internal unity was key to resilience and long-term prosperity. By strengthening domestic ties, Canada became less vulnerable to external shocks and disruptions. The project faced challenges, but progress was real and measurable. Canada's strength would come from working together as one united nation. The past years have tested Canada, but out of uncertainty, a stronger nation is emerging. Canada is no longer defined solely by its relationship with the U.S., it's charting its own course. The goal isn't to turn away from America, but to open more doors to the world. A globally connected, diverse Canada is a better partner and a more confident leader. New markets in Europe and Asia are already bringing benefits. The national conversation has shifted from anxiety to opportunity. The missile defense decision and global trade strategy proved Canada can stand on its own. It's a quiet revolution, steady, self-assured. The future looks bright. Canada has learned its security and prosperity must be built at home and abroad. The journey isn't over, but the direction is clear. Canada moves forward as a leader, not a junior partner. The Northern Star shines brighter than ever, lighting the way for generations to come.